Are you looking for enlightenment or complete spiritual awakening? Hello, this is Ra, and in this video, I'm going to give you the full download of how to get enlightened. I think you're going to really love this. If you are looking for enlightenment, this is the video to watch for you. The surest way to enlightenment, which works even in this day and age. It worked for me, it has worked for others, and it can work for you. The path to enlightenment at multiple levels, whether you are a complete beginner who just started meditating, whether you have been meditating for a few years, or whether you already have some realizations, this will still give you so much, because this is coming from the depth of my experience as a spiritual awakening mentor who found my own enlightenment through the help of my enlightened teachers. And now it is my calling to help others. Enlightenment is not something that is elusive. It's who you are. It's a realization of your true nature. And it's possible for you. You don't have to go to the mountains and meditate in a cave for 100 years, right? I am just showing you what is already present within you. So this is a multi-dimensional teaching. So it's not just words, it's not just something I read in a book, but what I have lived for years and years, and it's coming from my experience. My name is Ranitcher, by the way, if you haven't met me before. And I found my enlightenment after going through a difficult spiritual awakening, dark night of the soul. And I wish I had this guidance when I was in the depth of darkness, confusion, and meaninglessness, when I didn't want to live anymore. I wish I had this clarity and this understanding. I wish somebody would have reached out to me like I'm trying to do for you through this video. What I do is based on solid ancient principles which have been done for thousands of years and are still applicable today if practiced the right way. And that is what I want to show you, how you can take these ancient principles. I'm going to talk about this coming from Buddhism, but it's applicable across all paths, across all religions. Even if you are an atheist, this is going to apply to you. That's how universal this is. So take a breath, relax, and watch this video with an open mind and an open heart. And I'm going to slow down and talk from a deeper place to convey the full energy of this teaching. It's going to be a longer video, so get ready and let's dive in. In Buddhism, it is expressed like this in Sanskrit. Buddham sharanam gacchami. Dharmam sharanam gacchami. Sangham sharanam gacchami. And if you've heard this before, you may just think this Buddhist teaching where it says you just should surrender to the Buddha and you should become a monk, join a monastery, follow the teachings of the Dharma, and become part of a Sangha. Right? That is usually how most people interpret it. But that is just a very surface level way of looking at it. What we are going to do is go in depth into the core, the essence of it. Because as I unpack it, you will see that even the very first teaching, if you get the essence of it, it is the enlightened teaching in itself. But as we get to the second and the third teaching, you will see how Each of them will not only get you to enlightenment, but to the deepening of it, to the integration of it, which means bringing the light of your awareness, your divinity, into all aspects of life, into your entire being. And I'm so excited to talk to you about this. This is so close to my heart. And I if you are open, I know you will really see how valuable this is. Okay, so let's get into the very first teaching. And, you know, again, have patience. I'm going to reveal all of this to you. There's no hurry. Go beyond time and space. Put aside all distractions. And really come here with an open heart and mind. And receive. You can analyze it later after you watch it. You can think about it for one moment. Really receive, my dear one. Okay. Buddham Sharanam Gacchami. People think it refers to this prince who gave up his kingdom, his beautiful life, all his wealth, all the luxuries, the servants, the family, to seek enlightenment. Gautama Buddha, Siddhartha. But what it actually refers to is your true awareness, your awakened awareness. That is the deepest way of looking at it, to take refuge, to surrender to your enlightened nature, to let go of everything else, all the little things our mind holds on to, this and that and this and that, all the graspings, all the desires and aversions, all the misunderstandings, letting go of all of that, to surrender to the core of who you are. But before that can happen, which is a very subtle, very nuanced, experiential realization of the truth. It is not even an action. You cannot really do it because it's beyond action. That's why it's so abstract. And there are a lot of teachings I can give about it, which, I probably will as I make more videos on my channel here. But I want to also give you what you can do practically as well. So, in the deepest way, it is to let go of your unenlightened graspings, identity, stories, and attachments, and to be in your I amness, or your true awareness. again and again to let go of all that and come back to be aware of your awareness, to rest in your awareness. Ramana Maharshi said, Chumma iru. Chumma iru. Ramana Maharshi is a saint from South India in whose lineage I had my first awakenings and found my first enlightened teacher. So he said, Chumma iru, which means simply be, which may seem like very easy, simple words on the surface, but they are profound. Because if you really understand what it means, it is to surrender to your true nature. Just be in that true nature. Be as you are. Be who you are. But that may be too difficult for most people to do, even to understand what that means. So the external way of it, another dimension way of it, another dimension of understanding it, is to take refuge, learn from, get mentored by, study with an enlightened teacher. That is the external representation of it. Because we are multidimensional beings who have this amazing way of experiencing life reflected externally. So what's really happening is all within you. But this human experience is an external reflection, which is kind of showing you as a mirror of what is happening within. This principle is also one of the Hermetic principles, right? As above, so below, as within, so without. So everything we talk about here, these three principles, we'll understand in both ways. So internally what is happening, what should happen as you realize your true self, you become more and more independent. You depend upon your true nature which is within you. That is translated in the beginning stages of the journey where you have no clue what this means, to finding an enlightened teacher, because an enlightened teacher is a mirror to your awareness. A mirror who shows you who you are by shining that light themselves. And for me, this was really invaluable in my journey. My experience where I finally realized my true nature, my enlightenment experience as they call it, words are very limited, so even though everybody has enlightenment, there is a time and space thing that happens where you see it. For me, this happened with an enlightened teacher who helped me see this. And it happened because I first saw that teacher's enlightened nature, and I was so, I honored it so much. And I decided I'm going to follow this teacher and learn from them. And I surrendered to this enlightened teacher my doubts, my fears, my ideas, and said, I'm open. I want to learn. And I saw that light. And there is this particular experience that happened when, after a year of meeting this teacher had come back from Germany. I was not able to meet this teacher because I was in India. And this teacher only visited India once in a year and came to Tiruvannamalai, the place of Ramana Maharshi, if you're aware. The second time he visited, I had this experience where it was impossible for me to be separate. It was it. I was I externalized it, but it worked. I externalized it in a way that I saw this enlightenment in this teacher so much so that I was like, I want to spend time with my teacher as much as possible, because this is what the advice is in scriptures. You find an enlightened teacher and you serve them selflessly, and you do whatever you can to help the teacher and spend time with the teacher, be in the awareness of the teacher, awareness field of the teacher. And I was in this situation. I was actually having dinner with my teacher. I was sitting 2 seats away, and I wanted to speak with my teacher. And I had all these questions I wanted to ask. And I really enjoyed, if I couldn't, ask questions, I would really enjoyed listening to my teacher speak. And usually he spoke in English when he could. But in the evenings, what would happen is, after a day of teaching and interacting with others, he would get tired, and his mother tongue is German. First language is German. So he, along with all his students, who were mostly German, except like one or two of others, they switched to German in the evenings when they start getting tired. And after dinner, people are just sitting around talking. And I just so wanted to hear my teacher speak or ask questions and interact, but they were all just speaking in German. And I just got, this, I know this may feel disproportionate, but this is how it happened. I felt so angry. Something in me was like so waiting for a year to be with my teacher and all that. And that part of me got triggered. And I blurted out in this dinner where all the students are here. I was like, I don't want to be separate from you anymore. Right? I don't want to be away from you anymore. Right? And people were like, what? They looked at me like, um, you know, I was screaming in the court of the emperor or something, because everybody respected the teacher very much, and they were students. And suddenly I could feel the anger from, or like, the reaction of all the people around me. But my teacher understood that there was something deeper here that was happening. and he signaled them to calm down and created a safe space for me to go through. And I just was crying. I was crying because what I was really experiencing was I didn't want to be separate. I didn't want to feel separate from my own self, my higher self. And I had externalized it in the form of a teacher. And I had these little human ways of conveying it, like I said. But what was really happening was I was just finally ready. I didn't want anything else. And that was a desperate cry from the little human self, which is not really separate at all from the higher self, but imagined itself to be. And it cried out, saying, I don't want to be separate from the higher self anymore. So my teacher recognized this and he helped me look inward. He asked questions such as, look within, are you really separate from me? Hmm. 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 And I did. And I looked inside. And I closed my eyes. My crying calmed down. And I realized my oneness with my teacher, who I saw as the Buddha, the enlightened one who was guiding me. And that was my first step into enlightenment. That was my realization of my oneness with all that is. Because being one with the teacher meant being one with God, who I saw. It's A equals B means that if B equals C, A is also equal to C. I didn't have the logical explanation then, but it was very apparent, without a doubt. It was a realization experientially with my full being that I and God are not separate. I and the universe, I and reality are not separate. Because I and my teacher are not separate. Hmm. Hmm. So, what you can do practically is to find an enlightened teacher who can show you that you are also the same. A true enlightened teacher mm, helps you see your enlightenment. Mm, mm. A true enlightened teacher makes you independent. Mm, mm. And that is the first secret, the first jewel. Buddham Sharanam Gacchami. Yes, and once you see it externally and realize it, it progresses like in my case. into seeing your own enlightenment, and then it goes deeper and deeper and deeper. And the first experience is, as I said, it's just a first step into enlightenment. It's not the end, it's just the beginning. And then you start seeing that Buddha nature in everything. Yeah. Then there is no separation. It may take time for you to integrate that and see that in everything, which is natural, because that is the work, right? We are here to have an integrated experience of enlightenment, not just, one understanding or realization. Because it has to spread. The light naturally spreads into your being. So that experience was the beginning and just happened more and more and more. And I went through ups and downs with that too. So it's not that I happily lived ever after after that. The integration is a beautiful um, thing that happens in time and space. Hmm. But I continued working with that enlightened teacher. There are a lot of people who, if they have some experience, they're like, I know everything now. I don't need anybody's help. I'm better than everybody. That's the spiritual ego, right? That's what stops you from finding true enlightenment and integrating it. So I continued learning from the teacher. In fact, after 3 or 4 years of learning from that teacher, I found another teacher who took me even further, who who said, I'm not your teacher, I'm your spiritual friend. And he showed me so much more, because enlightenment is endless. There are so many dimensions of it. And to think that you know something even after enlightenment, it's not true. So I'm an eternal student. And that is really the application of the principle of Buddham Sharanam Gacchami. Be an eternal student of enlightenment, of your enlightened awareness, or if you can't do that yet, of an enlightened one who can show you in more accessible ways, in words that you can understand. And it's much more easily possible now. Okay, so from there, from the first principle, we can now go to the second principle, which is like a natural progression in my understanding. From Buddham Sharanam Gacchami, which is surrender to the enlightened one, the awakened teacher, or to your own awakened higher self, which is the essence of it. We can now move on to Dharmam Sharanam Gacchami. Surrender to the Dharma. And the Dharma is a word which has deep esoteric meanings. So I'm going to try to unpack that. It's at many levels. The truest Dharma cannot even be put into words. It is alive. Mm. It is full and it is empty. Mm. Mm. It is so vast that it's unlimited, cannot be grasped by any concepts. Mm. Because all concepts are so dualistic, and this is beyond duality. Mm. But when people hear Dharma, they may think, oh, I have to follow this scripture or these rules and precepts and all sorts of very do this and don't do this. All these things which are also good in certain stages, right? When you're a beginner, it may be really helpful to follow these things. But what happens is you will eventually start discovering the limitations of these fixed teachings because they are fixed. And your life is a flow. You will start coming up against the contradictions, the places where it doesn't apply at all. And then you start wondering, what is the Dharma? Right? So, the true Dharma, what I mean when I say it's alive, is that the true Dharma is not separate from your higher self. Hmm. The true Dharma hmm, is is enlightenment, is the light. But to make it practical and applicable, it may be seen in different ways. Like, okay, right now the true Dharma, if you're following an enlightened teacher, is to follow the directive of the teacher, is to follow the teachings. Mm. Why I say the directive of the enlightened teacher is because an enlightened teacher can see where you are at and give you the right direction. Whereas even if you have all the scriptures, you have, the it's like you have the full map. You have the full map of the world. Let's say you have all the scriptures because all the enlightened sages, saints, teachers have written down their experiences, and it's, so much that it's too much. Whereas the enlightened teacher is like you have Google Maps on your phone. Hmm. When you have the entire world map, you don't even know where you are in that world map. First of all, when you look at it, it's overwhelming. Hmm. And then you have to learn how to read maps, cartography, right? And then you have to see where you are at, and then if things have changed since the map was made, some maps can be really old, and the road that you need to go may be closed, even though it says open on your physical map. But a teacher is like Google Maps is a metaphor which holds pretty well. Of course, every metaphor has its limitations, but here it's like the teacher sees where you are at. An enlightened teacher can sense what is happening in your mind in some way. Hmm. and help you overcome that impediment that you're facing, and try to um, show you a way around that obstacle. So instead of just giving general answers, mm, an enlightened teacher can give you what is relevant for you. Hmm. And some of these answers may even contradict the world map. If there is a landslide on a certain route, let's say you're in the mountains, and you say, no, 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 according to the scriptures, the world map, it says there is a road and I have to go straight here. That is what the mainstream will argue. But for you, in your situation, at that time, at that place, because of that landslide, which the teacher knows about and you may not, you may have to take a different route to find your enlightenment. And when you are fixed in your mind to certain ideas and concepts, which you think may be the Dharma, right? That is why there can be a lot of confusion when working um, with an enlightened teacher for somebody who is fixed. I I have a lot of students who come with these fixed ideas, but slowly, eventually see that there is a greater Dharma that is alive, which sometimes goes against their expectations. So that is why I said earlier, empty yourself and open your heart and listen from a deeper place. Hmm. So this Dharma hmm, 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 can take you step by step as you follow the deeper Dharma. It shows you more and more. It unfolds. It's so subtle that you are just letting your higher self speak with you. And it's not even in words. It's not even speaking between the higher self and the lower self. It's just being the self. Hmm. So again, we come back to the same principle. It's not even three. It's actually just one, right? Hmm. But if you're not ready for the deepest teaching yet, follow the more practical external teaching, which is find an enlightened teacher who can guide you and help you go from where you are one step, step by step, back to yourself. Nowhere else to go, nothing else to do, but to realize who you are. And one more way this teaching can happen, and this is the missing piece for a lot of people. There is a lot of difference between like a regular teacher who, let's say, teaches you science. I have had amazing science teachers um, who lovingly taught with beautiful metaphors and explaining how it applies and all that. The difference between a science teacher and an enlightened teacher can be vast, huge, because the regular way of teaching is you first have to translate some concept that's in your head. If it's not already in words, because sometimes people just think in words and they can just say those words. let's say you're more visual, you have to take that concept and you have to put it into words. There's one translation here, and these words have to be spoken and conveyed to you through making these noises that we have certain meanings for. And the other person, your students, have to hear it, and then they have associations with those noises. It may mean something else to them. But we have kind of like a general understanding where we kind of mostly understand each other. What I say, you can hear and say, yeah, 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 this is what he said. So there are a lot of limitations here, you see. A lot of filters where things can get lost in translation. And then you have to get that, and then you have your own idea of that concept, which you try to understand based on the concepts that you already know, right? We have these foundational concepts about I, me, mine, and this world, and on top of that, we build other concepts. So there's a lot that can be misunderstood, misinterpreted, misconveyed, all that. And this is the slowest way of communication. Like, it's like dial-up broadband, dial-up connection, not even broadband, dial-up internet. Back in the day when you had to plug your phone into your modem and it would go right, and it was so painfully slow, and to even browse the internet or open an email, it would take a long time. So it's like that. Words and concepts and the communication of them is very, very limited. So what happens here is, what I may be saying, if I was just using words, and what you may be listening to, if you were just listening to the words, would be vastly different than what's actually happening. But an enlightened teacher, and I don't know if other teachers do this, but I have learned this from my teachers. My two teachers did this to me, gave me this gift, and I learned this. And also I kind of, because my father was an energy healer, and since my childhood I have been using energy, I combined that into what is known as what I call an energetically supported teaching or guided meditation. Whenever I teach or help people meditate, I bring that deep awareness, and because I and you are one, because there is no separation at all between you and me, even though we are thousands of miles apart, and even though you may be listening to this much later than this was recorded. Even with time and space limitations, the energy that I can convey to you because of our oneness, that connection can convey what cannot be put into words. So that is a true Dharma teaching, a transference of awareness. And I know other teachers do this too, but I don't know if all other teachers do this, all other enlightened teachers do this. Because everybody has their own expression, and everybody is at different levels of awareness and awakeness and all that, right? But it's a beautiful, powerful thing which changes your life. And this is how it happened to me. My first enlightenment, and much later other gifts of awareness that my later teacher gave me, which showed me more dimensions of it. They all happened through what was conveyed behind the words, beyond the words, sometimes without words, through meditation with them. And I have been able to do this to help people tremendously. So I will put a video here so you can watch that. One of the experiences of one of the people I mentored.
My name is Ma'a. There was this place in my path that was my biggest block. I would be able to go into meditation, experience a bright state of mind, but there was this cap where I would reach this one place. Okay, this is it. Like, you should stop. You can't pass this. I was so desperate to get past this. I just couldn't find my way through. And so I was trying to push and rise my Kundalini, and that failed. Then I tried to completely give up everything and just let go. But this mind that was so familiar to doing couldn't surrender. I was so frustrated. I was meditating with Ra. I was crying because I tried, and the same thing happened. He shared with me 3 words that I had heard before. With those words came this wave of powerful energy. When this energy hit, the mind just stopped. Suddenly there was silence. I went into the state of Satori. For 3 weeks, I was one with the flow of life. There was no more, what should I do? Should I do this? Should I not do this? Constant mental chatter was completely gone. This transmission is this gift from life, right? But this is a conscious gift from someone who is enlightened, who sees, oh, this is where you're stuck. If I planted this seed into your consciousness, you're going to see things from a completely new way. So it's a really, really magical thing. I probably wouldn't have believed it earlier, but it's very powerful, and that's my experience with it.
Mm. Mm. So, this is a real thing. This may seem very esoteric. But yes, let's move on to another aspect of this, which is just following the dharma of the moment. There are ideas and concepts, but once you internalize this, it becomes so natural. It becomes, it's not even a following as a doing, it's a being. And then following the dharma, surrendering to the dharma, doesn't mean you do anything, but you be. And the actions take care of themselves. So in the interest of time, let's not go down that rabbit hole, because that's a whole other video. But I am conveying to you the fullness of what this is. The depth of all of these things is infinite. We can go on and on and on. And if you're really interested, I'm happy to help you. And if you have questions, just ask me in the comments. Okay, moving on to the third pillar, the third jewel. Sangham Sharanam Gacchami. I take refuge in, or I surrender to, the Sangha, which on the surface is a community of awakening souls, awakening beings who are following the path along with you, following this teacher. But not many people know this, or I don't know if people really get the understanding about this. at its depth. But the deeper understanding of this is the key to integration of your enlightenment. Mhm. That's why the Buddha said, when one of his students asked him, out of these three jewels, which is the greatest one? uh, what is the most powerful one? So the Buddha answered, it is the Sangha. It is the Sangha. Because it can lead you all the way into the deepest enlightenment. Mm. Mm. Because the deeper meaning of that is that within yourself, in truth, in reality, there is nobody else. There is no one else. There is only God. There is only you. There is no higher self, lower self, other people, unenlightened folks. There is no teacher. There is no student. There is only you. Mm. 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 But as you are going to that place of being one without separation, you are a multidimensional being, practically speaking, in this apparent reality. Most people think, oh, I am this one person with one personality, but actually, within you, you have all these personalities. If you observe your mind, there are all sorts of different voices, opinions, thoughts. Some want this, some want that. Some want chocolate cake, some want the cheesecake, and some want the vanilla cake. If you just go to a bakery and try to choose something. One day you might want the chocolate, the another day you might want the vanilla. But what is really happening, as just a metaphor, is within you there are many aspects. I call them aspects. And some of these aspects are angry, some of these aspects have desires, some of these aspects are fearful, and they show up in your mind. Some of them are traumatized, some of them are stuck, and some of them are spiritual, happy. It's a beautiful mixture, just like a community of awakening beings. And that's the external reflection of it, right? This is what I want to really convey to you, how deep this teaching is. So, as you, as a human being, learn from others and help others, the same is happening within you in your aspects. Even after you get enlightened, your enlightened aspect is helping the other aspects see the light. Same within a Sangha. The enlightened aspect there is the enlightened teacher. And the students are learning to see the same light. And if you're one of the students, you're walking the path with other students and you're supporting each other in that journey. And working with others, the first thing that the, the scriptures say a lot is you find an enlightened teacher, you do selfless service, which is seva, and you spend time with the teacher, be in the teacher's awareness, in that field that helps you see your own light. But it's also true with the Sangha, because you all have the same intention. You're going towards enlightenment. The Sangha also helps that integration happen, because you are interacting with yourself in another form. And when you both have the intention to become enlightened, there is an opportunity to see each other as reflections of the light. Mm. Mm. And whether you are further ahead than that person in your path, or that person is ahead, doesn't matter. That interaction becomes satsang, an interaction for the sake of truth, interaction with truth, being with the truth. Mm. Mm. If they are enlightened, that would be the best, like your enlightened teacher. If you have an enlightened Sangha, where not just the teacher but others are awake to whatever degree, need not be the highest degree. That's the biggest gift. Changes everything. So that's what I've been so grateful to have, and also to create for my students who, wow, it just brings me so much joy to see how they support each other so lovingly. And it's not always, happy, right? There are times that people quarrel, people go through difficulties, people go through all sorts of ups and downs. And that is when the Sangha actually especially helps, because you can see others have been through that too. And you know that it's just a temporary phase for you. All these ups and downs come and go. And somebody else who has been through that can help you, or you can help somebody else. And another amazing thing that happens practically is you see that you are not alone in this journey at all. You can relate to others. You can really feel heard and seen and loved for who you are. Because regular society usually doesn't understand what's going through the life of an awakening being. If you're going through a spiritual awakening, you may be experiencing all sorts of things which is really hard to tell others. You may feel so judged. Like I was an actor. I've acted in movies in my younger age. I was a photographer. I was with people all the time, making them smile and all that. And I had so many friends. And it was very easy for me to talk with people. I was like the life of the party. When I was in that uplifting mood, I would uplift everybody. But at the same time, I felt so alone in my spiritual journey. And life felt meaningless because of that. I felt so isolated. I didn't want to live anymore. Even my closest friends and family, I tried to explain, they wouldn't really get it. But when there are others who are going through this path, who can understand and see, and they have the intention to help. In our Sangha, one of the biggest things is compassion, to help each other. So there is this intention to help out, and even just to listen. That makes all the difference. So that external thing, as you work with a Sangha of people, what also happens internally is reflected within you, that your enlightenedness, your light, once you find it, spreads to other aspects within you. Your enlightened aspects spreads it to the other shadowed or encumbered or hurt aspects, fragmented aspects, which see the light, and because you are lovingly, patiently, compassionately, forgivingly accepting them back into your enlightenment, into your light, your being becomes unified, so to speak. Mm. Mm. And that is really how you can go deeper and deeper and deeper in enlightenment. That is why it continues to be a beautiful journey even after awakening. Enlightenment is the first step. Yes. Yes, I hope you can appreciate how deep this goes, how subtle it goes. And now that I have talked about this, you may ask, what should I do now? How do I apply this for myself? I want to give you an easy way. Of course, you can try to find another teacher that you resonate with. And maybe that's the right thing for you. But if you resonate with me, if my approach, my energy, if you're vibing with my vibe, as they say, and see that I'm truly trying to help you, you may want to reach out and see how I can help you. See how there is the structure, the three jewels, how they're already present here at multiple levels. I'm able to support you through these three jewels. And it would be an honor for me to support you, because I see you are me. I don't see you as separate from me. And this is my higher calling. This is my way of spreading the light internally and externally, if you see the same connection here. That is why I do what I do. This is the deepening of my enlightenment by helping you see your enlightenment. Hmm. So, if this calls to you, know that I am here with you, for you. My life is dedicated to your enlightenment. And reach out to me on my website, awakenwithra.com. The link is in the description and the pinned comment. But reach out to me. And I have many free resources so that you can get to know my teachings and my approach. And you will already receive, even if you don't work with me, I just want to help you. Even if you don't become part of my Sangha or anything, I have no expectation that you do. I want to give you teachings which already give you an overview and the right understanding with many different perspectives. There are so many different teachings. I have a free app that you can download and listen and watch them. There are guided meditations. And there's a master class and many, many more things on my website. But if you really want to do this in the fastest way possible, easiest way possible, in an assured way, because this is a precious opportunity to have this opening in you for enlightenment, this yearning for enlightenment. And it's important to honor that and do the best you can, because if you don't, there are so many things in your own mind, in your own ego, that come to distract you and take you away back into the ups and downs, the waves of samsara, as they say. So, if this resonates with you, don't wait. Don't let the distractions get to you. Don't let your own self sabotage get to you. Take action. Reach out and work with me. I commit to your enlightenment. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to meet you soon. Namaste.